story time about how I got them. So if you are a little squeamish when it comes to scars or injuries, if you don't like graphic, detailed descriptions, I won't be getting that graphic, don't worry. But if that's not your kind of thing, then you don't have to watch it. But if you just want to, stick around for the whispers, that's okay too. I will be cutting away to, little clips of my scars today. Some of them are very faded, some are a little bit more fresh. There will be no blood or anything like that, don't worry. I won't be getting that graphic. So without further ado, I think I'm going to start with the earliest ones that I can remember, and then go forward into ones that are a bit more recent. So let's get started. So for the first scar, I'm actually just going to talk about it for a little bit because it's only very small, and I'll tell you how I got it, and then I'll show you. So when I was about maybe 6 or 7, I was at the pool, which is not uncommon for me at 6 or 7 years of age. I grew up in a very small town that was lucky enough to have a giant Olympic-sized swimming pool, and it had a slide, it had a diving board. It was a lot of fun, and I spent pretty much every day there. Whenever I could, I loved the water. So as I said, there was a diving board, and everybody liked to jump off there and do tricks and try and impress the other kids. I couldn't do any tricks, I just jumped off. But the silly thing was that there was always a little line, maybe 5 or 6 kids waiting in line in the peak times. And everybody waited in line, and then as soon as you jumped off, you ran around to the back of the line. And I guess I was very, very eager to jump off and get straight back to the back of the line. I didn't really enjoy the jump as much as I should have, because I was just so eager to get to the back of the line. So this one time, I think I might have been trying to race a friend who'd just jumped in, trying to get in front of her. I jumped not forward off the diving board, I jumped sideways towards the edge of the pool. And I was very, very lucky that I did not hurt myself more than I did. If this is all I got from that, I am a very lucky person, because I jumped, like I said, to the side, and my chin hit the side of the pool. How I didn't break my neck, I don't know how. It was crazy. But yeah, I remember the impact. Clunk. And I remember crying. I didn't cry that often as a kid. I wasn't, a drama queen or anything. I was a bit of a tomboy, but it hurt. I remember people crowding around me, and pulling me out of the pool. And I remember going and getting my mum, who was sunbaking, as she always was, reading a book while we're at the pool, because we had to be there for hours. And she was a bit in shock, and they took me in the car straight to the hospital. And it's all kind of a blur now. I was quite young, as I said, so I can't remember a lot of it, but I remember they them saying, okay, you need stitches. And this was probably before the times of, I don't know, I think nowadays when you have a little cut that needs stitches as a kid, you can get some kind of glue or something that means you don't need these little dots as well as the main scar. But this was the 90s, so I had to get stitches, 2 stitches. And I think I was pretty brave. I remember, when kids just want to be brave so badly that they don't cry, they can kind of psych themselves out. I wish adults were as good as kids at doing that. So yeah, I got 2 stitches, and I'll show you where now. So yeah, these 2 stitches there, and that's the scar. It sits right underneath my chin, so normally nobody would be able to see it, a kind of scar like this that just sits underneath my chin, but it just so happens that I am 6'3", so while I don't see it really when I look in the mirror, I'm sure everybody I know has seen it and probably wondered what it is. So there, that's the first scar that I remember. Okay, so the second scar, I actually think I might have been younger in this one because I was quite small. I might have only been 5, so so this is the first scar really, but it's the second in my story. So this one is on my knee, and how I got it was I was on holidays with my family. We were visiting my auntie and uncle. I think they live somewhere in northern Queensland in Australia, which is very hot. So we went out on a boat. They had a little tinny boat, a speedboat or whatever you call it. We call it a tinny. It was very small. And my uncle, he is a bit of a joker. He's a bit of a larrikin, as we might say in Australia. And he thought it would be funny to play a little trick on me. And I remember he picked me up, and well, while we were about to take the boat out, he picked me up into the boat and said, hey, come over here, I'll put your life jacket on. And so he helped me into my life jacket, and when he was finished putting my life jacket on, he thought it would be funny to throw me out of the boat. I mean, all of us could swim at this point, so it was, a fair enough joke that would not have resulted in any harm had there not been a nail sticking out of the side of the boat. Again, a tinny. That's why we call them a tinny, because they're pieces of it. So yeah, there was a nail or a screw or something like that with the flat bit sticking up out of the side of the boat, which got caught on the inside of just below my knee and really took a good bit of skin off. I remember, I don't know if this is too graphic, but I remember the bit of skin still on the bit of the nail. Yucky. I'm sorry. And yeah, that hurt. That really hurt. Again, I left the water crying, and I didn't get stitches for that. I don't know if I should have or not, I guess, because it was on my knee, my leg, like, nobody really cared whether I had a big scar there or not. So yeah, let me show you it. So here it is. Now it has stretched a little bit, or a lot, since I was 5, obviously. My legs are not as skinny as they were when I was 5. But it is quite large, as you can see. It kind of is in the shape of a little tadpole. I remember when I was little, it was a bit more bulgy and kind of the skin was more loose. It was pretty gross. But that's the benefit of growing extra padding, isn't it? Your scars kind of just fade away. Anyway, there it is. Okay, and now on to scar number 3. I'll do what Grace V does because I just love it so much. Not 1, not 2, but yes, 3. 3 scars. And this scar was in fact self-inflicted as a joke. I'll explain. So, as I said, I grew up in the country, and at this time, I think I was out of primary school. I was in high school, which is years 7 to 12. I think I was in year 7, and I was a boarder at that time. I went to boarding school for the first 2 years. First 2 years of my high school, because my family still lived in the small town, which didn't have a very good high school. So I went to boarding school in a bigger town, and then we eventually moved to that town, so I went to the same school. I just wasn't a boarder anymore. I digress. So I was in year 7, and us boarders sometimes got to go and stay with the day students at their house, like a sleepover. And so me and 3 other friends who were also boarders went to stay at our friend's place, who had a kind of, not a farm, but just a very, very big backyard, I guess. A few acres, I think. And so we camped out. We camped outside, and got up to all kinds of things, what kids do. We had a fire, and we had marshmallows, and we were toasting the marshmallows on these little sticks, with a V at the end of the sticks, so you could poke them and toast them. And I can't remember whose idea it was. Actually, it might have been the girl who didn't end up doing it, but somebody had the bright idea of let's all, because these sticks were made of metal, so they were very, very hot. And somebody's bright idea was, let's brand ourselves. In fact, it was the girl I'm thinking of, because she was a farmer, so she would have had that idea, and she was the one who chickened out. But actually they all ended up chickening out except for me. Anyway, we all thought, let's brand ourselves, this will be funny, because there was a little V at the end. So we decided to stick the little metal rod into the fire. I think I cleaned the marshmallow off at first. It was a clean one. Stuck it in the fire, and then when it was really hot, I pulled it out and I stuck it on the inside of my ankle and branded myself, because, I don't know, friendship. Let's remember this night forever. And it hurt like buggery. It hurt like hell. And as soon as I had done it, the other girls saw how painful it was. Surprise, surprise, nobody else wanted to do it. So, I don't know if they remember that night as much as I do, because that was the point of, the whole branding situation. But it was a memory, I guess. And now I'll show you the scar. So this is probably the most faint scar, the most faded scar that I'll show you today. It happened a long time ago, and I probably didn't, stick the branding rod on that hard, to be honest. As soon as it touched my skin, I kind of flung the hot metal rod away, and I think my thong, my flip-flop actually fell into the fire because I kicked it off. So yeah, it's only very faint, but you can just make out the V. It's a little V there. So that was scar number 3, and now it's time for scar number 4. And it's actually on my hand. So I'll show you a close-up in a minute. It's not a very interesting story. It's another teenage stupidity story. And I can only vaguely remember why it happened. Another self-inflicted one. I think there was a sort of trend going around where you would scratch yourself until it bled, just lightly, just really lightly. The kids would do it in class too. I don't know, I guess it was like some kind of masochistic game of chicken. Not masochistic, what's the one where you hurt yourself? I don't know, stupid. Let's just call it stupid. So, as the uncool girl who was always trying to be cool, I decided to join in, and I scratched and I scratched and I scratched until it bled. And then now I have a little scar that kind of looks like a chicken pox scar. Just there. That's all it is. Just a tiny little scar. Nothing exciting. And it didn't make me very cool, so more for me. And now for scar number 5. It's on this hand. And I got this scar at work. I used to work in a supermarket, and I was doing one of my favorite things to do in that job, which was hiding out the back and opening the boxes of the stock and sort of arranging them, merchandising them on the tables, which we'd then bring out. It was my favorite thing to do in that job because I'm not very good at customer service, and I really didn't like it. So I was out the back, happily cutting boxes, opening them up and arranging the merchandise, when I decided that I needed a new blade for my Stanley knife. Now those Stanley knives are the ones that go and they're very sharp when they're new. And all it takes is just one little slip and you can get a scar. And that's what happened. So I changed my blade, put a new one in, and as soon as I went to cut the next box, it slipped and went straight in here. Right there. Right there. So it just went in like that. It was a very clean cut, but I think it went quite deep. And this one bled a lot. Like, it bled more than any other scar. It just wouldn't stop bleeding. I was quite worried. I think maybe there just must be so much stuff going on in that part of your hand. But it was fine. It's a very neat little scar. Quite uninteresting. But there you go. So before I tell you about my second to last scar, I have to tell you a secret. I'm gonna tell you a secret. My secret is, and you can't tell anybody, but my secret is, I'm a witch. I'm a witch. That's right. I'm a witch. And, well, I had a witchy wart. Right here. But because I'm living in a muggle world, I decided I needed to get rid of my witchy wart. So this was about 10 years ago now. I went to the doctor asking what the hell this big wart looking thing was on my face, and he said, well, it's a wart. And I was like, yuck, get this thing off my face. So he put some dry ice on it. That didn't work. So eventually I had to get it cut out with this really cool apparatus. It was like a mini apple corer. It was really gross, but oh my god, so satisfying to I saw the thing afterwards that they took out of me. It went pretty deep. It went like that deep. So what they did was they applied a numbing cream. I don't think it was an injection. I think it might have just been a topical ointment. And then they pulled it out, roots and all. Gross. So that was my witchy wart, and now no one will know. So here it is up close, my witchy wart scar. You can barely tell, can you? It's only very small. It kind of just looks like another chickenpox scar. Little and round. Could be an acne scar. No one will know. Don't tell anyone my secret. My witchy secret. So the final scar that I have to show you today, you might have already seen, is this big long scar. And it goes from here, right above my jaw, all the way down to here. And I guess I include this little guy in this constellation of scars because it came from the same story. So this scar, as much as I'd like to have a really cool story for it, it was actually just from a surgery that I had last year. And it was a lump that I found early last year. It was kind of scary, actually. I originally found it in my neck, one afternoon. I thought that's weird, because I definitely didn't have a lump the day before, so it grew quite quickly. And I went to the doctor, and originally it felt kind of at that time about this big, about the size of a Malteser. If you don't know what a Malteser is, then I guess it's the size of like a grape if it was round. I don't know. Like this big, by this big. So I went to the doctor, and, well, long story short, that doctor didn't know what he was doing. So after a long process, and excuse me, after a long process, I found a doctor who was not a quack. And by that time, a few weeks later, it had grown to the size of a golf ball. My little lump in my neck, this big, about that big. So that was kind of scary, and I didn't know what it was. So after a lot of tests, a lot of ultrasounds, I think I got an MRI as well, some other kind of scan, lots of scans, biopsy, and they realized it wasn't the bad kind of lump. It wasn't cancer. It was what they call a branchial cleft cyst. A branchial cleft cyst, which is some kind of weird thing that often only children get. It's some kind of malformation when you're in the womb, basically. And I don't know exactly, I forget exactly what it is, but two things that are supposed to connect don't connect, bones or something. And I don't know if that gets infected, like if you have a cold or something. I think I'd had a cold recently. Then if it gets infected, it becomes this cyst, I guess. So I had that, and I could have left it there, but it would have been a big lump in the side of my neck. So, and also it wasn't guaranteed that it couldn't turn nasty, so I had to get it out. So I went into surgery, and they chopped it out, and it was all fine. This extra little one, I'll tell you about in a sec. So here it is up close. It starts out quite light and unnoticeable, and then I don't know why, but for some reason it gets all lumpy down this end. It was supposed to be all like this bit at the top, but I don't know, I guess when they were closing it, it didn't go as planned, and I don't know, maybe I didn't massage enough vitamin E oil in there or something like that. I don't know whether it's my fault or the surgeon just didn't do a great job. It wasn't a plastic surgeon, so maybe I should have got a plastic surgeon to do it, but anyway, I'm not so bothered by it anymore. I'm healthy, so it doesn't bother me to have this scar. And this little dot is where the draining tube was. So after surgery, there's a lot of fluid, and it needs to get out, so they have this little tube that comes out, and I guess it couldn't come out the main hole, so they made another hole for it to come out, and it was attached to this. No, you don't want to know. It was draining fluid, and so it also left a little scar. And there you have it. Those are all of my scars on my body. I hope I didn't gross anyone out too much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.